It's that time of the week. You're listening to Watching Paint Dry, and I'm your host, Emma Jane Palin. Today, I'm chatting to the wonderful Marie Pontefract, who is the founder of Albie Pearl, a vintage homeware shop that used to be right next door to me, but is now based one town over in Broadstairs. Marie and I spent the majority of December, when I had a pop-up shop here, chatting about all things small business. And I think her journey is one that many traditional designers are going through. After 20 years of working as a womenswear designer for some very well-known brands, Marie became disenfranchised with the industry, the waste, the treatment of people, and the ripping off of smaller brands. In this chat, we discuss exactly how this led to her setting up her own vintage homeware business, her move to the seaside, and how we're crossing all fingers that people are returning to the high street to support their local community and shops like this. Navigating life as a business owner with young children was also a topic of discussion. How does Marie manage to grow her business with mouths to feed? As someone without children who still finds most daily tasks impossible, I wanted to know how she weaves them into her life as a small business owner and how her home reflects this. Marie is open, honest, and realistic about all of this, but offers hope to anyone out there hoping to have children and run a business. Without further ado, here's how she's curating joyful collections of vintage homeware and celebrating a stylish, slower, and sustainable way of life. Marie, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really sad because we were due to be next door neighbours, but alas, it wasn't meant to be because you have moved on to bigger and brighter things over in Broadstairs. But we did share a month in December. So I feel like, you know, we put the world to rights in that month and had lots and lots of conversations. Obviously, you're a woman after my own heart with a sustainable vintage shop called Albie Pearl. Can you tell me a little bit more about that, how that came to be?
I'm a designer by trade, a womenswear designer. And after about 17 years in the industry, and after having my Albie, I was pregnant with my daughter and the world was sort of crashing down around me with redundancies and things like that. So I took a little bit of time out to reassess the world, and kind of having two kids made me really think about the impact of what I was previously doing. Environmentally, personally, it was becoming more and more like troubling for me. And the creativity wasn't even there to balance that, you know, everything else that was going on.
What year are we talking here?
So that point was about sort of end of 2018, 2019. So obviously working and living in London, juggling sort of childcare and, you know, the threat of redundancy, mortgage repayments, all the rest of it. Was also redecorating our house at the time, and sort of the more research I did into, you know, starting out with sustainable paints, things like that. And just my natural love of vintage, like clothing, interiors, accessories, everything, became more than just a passing interest.
It's like your life.
Yes, my passion definitely shifted, and it became one of those things like, you know, friends were saying, "Oh, could you try and track this down for me? Could you track this down for me?"
So your hobby almost became something that you wanted to take your career. And that's what you wanted to do.
Well, it was, and we were just like, well, how do you make this work? You know, we'd always had this kind of, when we win the lottery, we'll set up a shop, we'll do this, it'll be like
a bit of a pipe dream.
Yeah, you know, but we have to win the lottery because, you know, London, mortgage, blah. And then we just thought, hang on a minute, if we don't live in London and like the whole world just opened up, which I still can't quite believe that we've left London.
I think that when you're in London, everything revolves around London, and you can never imagine your life outside of it. It was exactly the same for us. Like, I was a London girl through and through. And then one day I was just like, I could actually, you know, those dreams that I have, maybe I could actually do them if we didn't live month to month in London. Because ultimately, like, we used to always say that phrase when we win the lottery. We didn't even do the lottery. So how are we ever going to do that?
Yeah.
And like, I think lots of people don't do things that they really want to do because of all of those, I guess maybe circumstances, but sometimes you just have to go for it, which obviously you ended up doing. You moved to the sea.
Yeah.
When was that?
So that was November 19.
Okay. So just before.
Yeah, obviously not knowing quite what was going to be around the corner. It wasn't quite the plan, obviously. But yeah, had a 5-year-old Albie and a 6-week-old Pearl. So that was fun.
I love that the shop is named after them as well.
Well, they one, obviously, as you know, I'm massively cheesy and sentimental, but they literally inspired me. It was one thing being in an industry where, I mean, you're bullied. Let's be honest. It's like you're treated quite badly, and there's obviously negative impact happening to suppliers and to the environment. But when you start showing your children that that's the way to live, then it was just like, nah, things need to change.
I think once you've got something in your head and you've decided it, like, you know, people say a job's a job, but when you've decided that actually what you're doing is maybe having a negative impact on people and the planet, it's really hard to let that go. Especially, I know that you're a very like compassionate person, so like I can see why it would be really hard for you to stay in that industry where you felt that way. And I think definitely in recent years, like fast fashion is obviously, people have talked about that for a long time. Interiors, we don't talk about it so much. We don't talk so much about the impact that all of these things have on the world. And actually, when you look at the stats, some of them are ridiculous for how much furniture we throw away, just get sent to landfill with absolutely no kind of concern. Yeah,
I think it's really concerning that things aren't, that it isn't as obvious. I think for you know, you look at H&M Home, for example, and you know they're taking the kind of particularly vintage trends, you know, colourful glassware, or you've got, you know, Zara Home doing kind of brutalist bobbin chairs and things like that. And obviously it's mass manufactured. It's meant to be a trend, so therefore you're gonna have to replace it when the trend is over, rather than buying things that make your heart sing, that speak to you, and that have got the quality to last. I also stock on Vinteria, and their like tagline at the moment is like, "You're better than flat pack," which I'm just like, yeah, that's right.
Their advertising,
I love it.
It's so clever. And I know you touched upon it before and kind of your fashion background, but do you think having insight into kind of the production lines and the volume of new things, did that really kind of inform how you run Albie and Pearl?
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, obviously seeing that volume of product that was constantly churned out, you know, month upon month upon month upon month, and the way then you literally having to clear the store, so like markdowns, and you know, traveling extensively like I did in fashion, you literally see the waste mountains, so you know where this ends up. So for me with Albie and Pearl, it's very much about it's one at a time. I make sure when I source and when I buy really tight. I buy for what I've got coming up. So it means I've got the flexibility to offer my customers choice without being so heavily bought up that I then have to mark everything down like they do kind of on the high street. You know, it is like I buy well, I price fairly for my customers and fairly for the quality of product that I sell. But it's for what you need rather than in 12 months time, and you know, I don't buy that sort of volume.
Absolutely. And I actually wanted to talk to you a little bit more about the sourcing process, because I think often people assume that if you're a vintage reseller, that you're just like whacking a price, marking things up, but actually there's a lot to the sourcing process. And I know that you go on trips like abroad And Albie Pearl has a very distinctive style as well. So you're not just going and, you know, raiding a local warehouse. Like, obviously I don't want you to share your secrets because that's part of it.
I'm taking them to the grave.
But what do you look for? Like you've said that you kind of obviously get pieces that are forever, that it's not just an of the moment. But how do you know? It's a risky process, right?
It is. It's terrifying. I mean, it's brilliant, but it's terrifying, and it is definitely not. It's not what people think it is. I mean, the amount of times people say to me, oh, you know, you're living the dream, traveling across Europe, buying this. And it's like, you know, there are moments where it is amazing. And I'm like, how is this my job compared to what it used to be? But it's intense. And it's usually, you know, the juggle of childcare, for example. And it's all on a very tight time frame with a very tight budget. And for me, like you say, I do like to think I've got my own kind of handwriting. You know, my thing is like it's joyful, and it's kind of, I guess it sort of started out as the sort of things I would have in my home, and you know, taking my taste, I guess, as my benchmark. So I would never buy something that, even if it's on trend, if it's not my natural style, that's not for me. Someone else will be doing it. I would love to cater for everybody, but I know that that's just an impossibility. So I stick to kind of my personal taste, and my customers have sort of, you know, gravitated to me for that, so they know what they're getting. And yeah, I mean, the process is...
Lots of early starts.
Yeah, done some wild ones recently. I mean, sourcing through the night, like kind of starting at 9 at night, you know, head torches in the rain.
Seen some of your Instagram stories of this, and I'm like,
chic, very chic.
It's not the lifestyle that, you know, often gets sold of this.
It's not. It's more than croissants and red wine. It's, yeah, like super early, and obviously the sort of the pressure of that, knowing kind of what you need to come home with. And making sure you get the quality right.
What do you do if you don't find anything as well? Like, it's risky in terms of paying for that travel and transport. Yeah.
And there's been times where it's been like, why did I hire a van? I've got like a couple of sets of glasses rattling around in the back. It's, you know, there has been times where it's been a disaster. You know, things just haven't quite opened up even after COVID, whereas, you know, it's they're on listings and recommendations, or the weather is so bad it just gets cancelled at the last minute with fairs. So yeah, it can be risky. It's kind of, I don't know whether that's like the thrill of the chase.
Yeah, I think that's probably definitely part of it. Like, if you're a bit of a thrifter, then there is certainly like an adrenaline rush there.
Yeah.
Speaking of risks, though, obviously we were neighbours for a month. We're in a very, you know, it's an up and coming town.
Yeah.
But you've obviously just moved out to a brand new space in Broadstairs. What's the vision behind that?
I live in Broadstairs, so it makes sense sort of geographically. I mean, the commute of dreams, literally 5 minutes down the road.
Amazing. Same for me here.
Yeah, exactly. And it's more space.
Yeah. Why is a physical space so important to you?
Because I think it's more than just shopping. It's like, in its experience, it's somewhere like, you know, to chat to your neighbours and to your customers directly, rather than just sort of a faceless transaction. You know, we can talk about the product, we can talk about customers' projects that they're working on. I have a lot of repeat customers, and obviously, as you know, like in this area, so many people are doing big like renos and things like that. So they might not be the kind of like the accessorizing, the icing on the cake stage, but they know they're going to get there. So then I can do sort of bespoke sourcing for them, particularly like lighting projects I do quite well with.
You're very good at selecting lighting, I must say.
It's I mean, almost a problem. I like a lamp.
I mean, I think we've spoken about this like quite a lot before as well, in terms of like for both of us, it's almost like our pipe dreams to have a shop, and you just want to have that physical space to work in, people to come to, but it is struggling, like resale is struggling. And I think that for both of us, it's very important to create spaces that people can come in and interact and meet local community and other creatives as well. Like it's something that we need our high streets basically, and this is part of the problem. Like the reason why mass market interiors and fashion do so well is because they're so accessible, right? Like it's quite an interesting, when you think about the psychology behind it, like people want to be able to go and pick up stuff on the day, and shops are needed for that. But it's not easy.
It's not, and you know that there's always pieces in store that will feel like, you know, kind of from lighting to furniture, artwork, sort of, and then your sort of small pieces like, you know, a little set of glasses or like a cute plate or something like that. But yeah, it isn't like I saw that in a magazine and you can go and get it. You need, there's a bit more, a bit more nuance to it. Yes.
It's lovely to have something with a story though. Like I remember at Christmas, someone came in with their husband and really liked a piece of art and, you know, was kind of like hinting for it. And then we were like having a chat later on in the day, and then he just like rocked up later on in the day, and he was like, because he was going to get this piece of art, and basically just put this huge piece of art at the back of his car and was going to surprise her on Christmas. And it's so lovely, like, to hear those stories and like see them, and then you'll see that person again and they'll be like, oh my God, I got the piece of art that I wanted.
And it's a one-off, that's the thing. It's like, what's that saying? It's like, nothing haunts you like the vintage you don't get. It's like, you know, they're one-offs. They've got story, they've got soul to them. There's so much more than like just a product. You know, it's a piece of history a lot of the time.
You mentioned before about obviously everything that you're doing today is kind of for your kids. And as someone without kids, like, one, I don't know how you do it, because I find running my own business without children to keep alive very, very, very hard. And I think it's something that like many women do, like that when you're very career focused, you obviously worry about that because you don't, you know, we're kind of always told like you can't have it all, like you've got to make a compromise.
You can't.
I get, that's what I want to.
Yeah, you can't. I think I have adjusted what I actually want out of life, basically. It used to be when I was in fashion, it was like, right, next stage, bigger job, you know, promotion, team, and then that just meant more and more time away from the family, longer trips, etc. And I was like, I can't do that. So, but what I can do is I can have breakfast with my kids, and I can be there pretty much half the time to collect the kids. And, you know, working close to home means that I don't miss out on everything. I might not get to Albie's football as much as I'd like to be because I'm in the shop. But also I'm showing the kids that you don't have to have the big corporate job with the big paycheck. You know, I mean, a paycheck would probably be good. But, you know, life doesn't have to be like that. The big job, the cash doesn't necessarily equal a happy life.
Yeah, you don't need to enter that wheel of kind of, I guess it's just a societal thing that it's like, what do you want to be when you're growing up? Like, I bet you were like, I want to have a vintage.
But I did want to be a fashion designer then. When I was drawing clothes.
It's okay for life to change, though, and to not always stick to the same job. Like, I think
definitely
we're often, kids are very much taught like that you will have this one job. Yeah. So it's amazing that you're showing them that you can be flexible and you can create you can carve a life that works for you.
And, you know, I drag them around like France with me sometimes. It's not ideal, I'm not going to lie. It's not ideal, but...
I mean, I feel like Pearl in the new shop space is going to be having the time of her life, like with all the pretty things, because you're going to have so much more space.
Yeah.
She's like a shopkeeper.
She's,
in the making.
Mummy's treasures. She's like, she does.
Stop it. Do you have any advice for anyone that's trying to get that balance right? Like, is there anything that you've learned that you wish that you'd known before?
I'm very much learning.
That's okay, though.
I keep having to be reminded by everybody else just to be a bit kinder to myself. And yeah, just adapting. Like, you have to adapt and kind of roll with it a bit with your business. You have to, you have to flex and change as you grow. And it's the same with kids. Like, you can't do the same thing with them, from when they're like 4 to when they're, teenagers. So we just kind of...
You make it work.
We're just figuring it out.
You have to go with the flow.
Yeah.
I guess. But yeah, that is a great piece of advice, because sometimes, I mean, I'm a control freak. So I feel like that kind of thing, when things don't necessarily go your way, they like actually really affect you.
Yeah.
But you have to learn to just like take a little bit of a step back and not be on anyone else's timeline as well.
And that's one thing I definitely struggle with. I think kind of the whole sort of Instagram age of, there are a lot of sort of vintage and antique sort of dealers that have come up, which I think is really positive in so many ways, because it was such an old boys club before. Not knocking some of those old boys, they're lovely, but it's nice to bring a different eye and a different focus on things. But it does mean comparison is so easy. Yeah. And you kind of go, well, they're at this stage and but then you have to kind of recalibrate and remember why.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly it's so strange, because interiors is predominantly a female, like the decorative side of it is, but there's certain aspects of it that are really like male led, and actually getting into those spaces is sometimes really hard. And actually, I guess like the sourcing side of things, actually you are negotiating with men a lot of the time. So you kind of have to put on your big boots to sort of haggle and get the lowest cost.
I mean, I think they realise quite quickly that I'm good at haggling.
I've seen a few photos of your gorgeous, gorgeous home. Only a few though, I want more, please. Did kids change the way that you designed your home?
I think probably my design became more playful. I think it was the kids. It might be kind of moving down to the coast, like the light being different. I wanted to bring more colour into our home than we had in London. I feel like London, it was quite reflective of kind of the time. There was lots of charcoal greys. Can you imagine me having a charcoal grey living room?
Absolutely not, but style evolves.
Anyway, definitely not the case now. But I didn't design anything for the kids. I didn't design white clean surfaces. I didn't there are sharp corners, there is glass, not in a kind of, dangerous way, but we didn't design a playroom, we designed a living room where the kids play. Mm-hmm. And we sit and, have our friends round and watch telly and drink wine. And we don't have playrooms, we have family areas. And at the end of the day, there's usually lots of toys to pick up, but that's fine, but there isn't kind of, but particular kind of areas that are kid zones and grown-up zones.
I think people overthink it sometimes, like you can't have nice things if you've got young children running around, but I don't think I would change.
But I think it's important, like they pick out nice things themselves now. They're like, particularly Albie being a bit older, Pearl's just like anything unicorn.
Oh my God, Albie can go source for you.
No, I think he's going to be there. He's a bit taller and he can help me with the heavy lifting. It'd be amazing.
I love it.
But we've never done that. Obviously when they're tiny, safety concerns, there's like, minimal, but that's it. It's a home and they're really good with it, and I think most kids are when they're you know, if you can draw on a wall, they'll draw on a wall. But if you tell them you can't do it, they don't do it.
And have you got any plans for the home? Are you looking for any pieces for you specifically?
We need a kind of statement light for the hallway because we currently have the one that was there when we moved in 4.5 years ago now. But as we've mentioned, I like lighting, so it has to be the one.
The one?
Yeah.
Are we talking like grand?
Oh yeah, we're talking Murano, of course. I mean, ideally 50s. There'll be tears, there'll be glass.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
I can't wait for that.
And then bigger projects wise, we've got the spare room and the bathroom to do, but that's very much a budget situation. It's a save up, do a bit, save up, do a bit. It's not.
But that's real.
It is. It's not. Don't live in the sort of 60-minute makeover land.
Yeah, that's real. I think definitely something that has come from like the Instagram, Pinterest kind of thing is that everyone thinks these things happen super easily, super quickly, and it's okay. It's okay to take time and not have money to do things. That's just real.
Yeah.
And actually, yeah, you could have easily got a light to just whack in there, but ultimately it wouldn't have been your dream light.
Yeah.
So it would have ended up getting replaced, and that's so important.
Yeah, it's a total false economy. You know, it's so important to you know, and you can get things and you think they're right at the time and it doesn't quite work out for you. That's different. But I think kind of when you've got a clear idea, it's just like, just hang tight and save up because it'll be even
not the end of the world.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world if the hallway light stays like that for a while.
Exactly.
Right, I'm going to end it with some quickfire questions.
Okay.
Which are really fun because I think it just tells you everything you need to know about someone's personality.
Okay, no pressure.
So yeah, ready to go home or renovation project?
Or renovation.
Minimalist or maximalist?
Maximalist, 100%.
DIY or hire trades?
Both. Is that can I
yeah, absolutely. I feel like, you know, you can be both because there are some things that I'm happy to DIY and other things I want to hire trades for. But I'm also tight. So
yeah. I mean, if I can do it, I'll do it.
Yeah.
You know, not electrics though.
Open plan or private zones?
Oh, again, I want to say both.
That's broken plan.
Oh.
We've had a few broken plan people. I should have added it in as an option.
Yeah.
Wallpaper or paint?
Both. Just like everything.
Okay, Marie would just like everything in her house. That's fine, but you know, which one, if you were going to go into a room, wallpaper or paint? On the walls. Obviously you're going to paint somewhere anyway.
I love a bit of wallpaper.
Dining table or a TV meal?
Oh God, dining table.
I think you're the only person. No, you're not.
Tablescapes.
Do you set your table?
Yeah.
I love that. I would like to be you when I grow up.
I mean, the kids have like the rainbow Murano glasses. It's like, it's all about colour.
Big light or little lights?
Oh, little lights.
Carpet, yay or nay?
I do like carpet. We haven't got much of it in our house.
I'm like, it depends.
Yeah.
New or vintage furniture?
Well, it will surprise you. Actually, no, you're vintage, obviously.
Painted ceiling, yes or no?
Yes.
Woo! That's all for today. I can't wait to come over and see your shop in Broadstairs. I can't wait to have you over here. Very sad that we're not going to be neighbours, but I'm sure we'll see each other all the time. So thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thanks, Emma.